So how can we make a chord progression sound like a melody? Well, the thing is, if we break down the notes of a chord, then we can make it sound like a melody. Let me give you an example. The first two chords that I played at the beginning of the video. I'm playing a G major chord and a C major over G and back to the G. So I literally have just two chords, but if I strum these chords, I don't really get the melodic side of the chords. But if I emphasize certain notes, for example, the note B for the G major chord, the note C for the C major, and back to the note B for the G major chord, then I got myself a melody. Of course, you combine that with the fingerstyle and a little bit of rhythm and a lovely tone, and you can really make a chord progression sound like a melody. Now we're going to start with two chords, the G major and then the C over G, which is played like this, and back to the G major. Now the secret here is that we want to first of all add some rhythm to the chords, and by rhythm I mean we want to interpret these chords, right? And the melody is on the B string, so I'm going to strum the chord all the way up to the B string with the fleshy side of the thumb, but you can strum with the finger if you want. So you strum all the way up to the B string, then the C over G, all the way, always all the way up to the B string, okay? You don't want to strum the E string. I like to shake the guitar so that I can create this natural vibrato. Now the second chord is an interesting one. It's an E minor 7 with the B on the bass, right? It's a nice and interesting chord. And I'm going to break down this chord note by note. So I'm going to play the bass and the D simultaneously. Or if you want to make it more melodic, you can play the bass a little bit earlier. The G string and the D string. Just a nice and lovely way to interpret this chord. Now the C major. We only have two notes, the melody and the bass on the fret number 3. I pluck the A and the E simultaneously, and then the G string. Then we have the G over B, and that's another lovely chord. Very similar to the E minor 7 over B, right? It's almost the same thing, but you know, it's definitely a G major chord with the B on the bass. We pluck the strings like this, the A and the B, then the G. And then 3 more chords. So I have the A minor chord, which is a little bit busier. We're gonna play the A and the B string, then the D and the G string, and then the G major chord. We're gonna play the low E string and the B string, the D and the G string, and then the last chord, the D, which is gonna have the melody on the D string, fret number 4, and we're gonna play 5 and 4. Now, as you can see, I really like to pluck most of the strings with the thumb as well, because I like the tone in this particular example. So even when I play the A minor, I like to have the thumb jumping on 2 strings. Now, of course, we can do more and add a real melody to these melodic chords. And because we have so much space between the chord change, then we can add, single notes like this. So we're gonna play the same chord progression. We're just gonna add more melody, more single notes to the chords. So what we're gonna do? So for the first two chords, the melody is very simple. After we play the C over G, we're gonna have two notes, the D on fret 3 and back to the C on the fret number 1, and then we strum the G major chord again. But now we also have a melody between the chord change. So we got three notes, the same three notes, the G, the A, and the B. And then the next chord, the E minor 7 over B, which is the same. And then, so I'm playing three notes, the note D on the B string fret number 3, E string open, and the fret number 2 on the E string. I'm holding the bass note down because I like, that it rings out. And then after that, we have the C major chord, which is basically the same thing. We're just going to add one more note. So the E string fret number 3, and then the G over B. And in this case, we're just gonna add the E string open. And then the last three chords. So the A minor is the same, but the G is going to have the voicing on the B string fret number 3, then the D and the G string, and then we change chord. We're gonna play a B7 chord, now I'm playing a B7 with a bar chord on the fret number 2, and then 4 and 4 on the D and the B string. And the magic here is that we are playing the E string open simultaneously with the bass note, then the F sharp on the fret 4, the A on the fret number 2 with the bar, and then the D sharp fret number 4. So the melody is within the chord. And it's just like if we will play a B sus4, which you can do like this, but I like to have the open strings ringing out. Now this second section is really interesting because we are going to play chords, but we also want to make these chords sound melodic, so we're going to have a melody within these chords. And the way we're going to do it, we're going to basically play the chord in two different positions. It sounds like this. Now the chord progression is slightly different. We've got E minor, D major, C major, and B major chord. So the first chord is the E minor chord, which I am playing like this. I have an E minor triad on the fret number 5, 4, and 5, right? So the root note of this chord is on the B string, and I'm gonna play the bass as well. So the melody is now on the B string, and you can arpeggiate the chord and then just play single notes. But then we're gonna have the melody on the fret number 8. So I'm gonna change this chord. So I'm gonna have this chord shape, and I'm just arpeggiating the E and the B string, and the D, and the B again. We're gonna do the same thing for the second chord, which is the D. So I have 3 notes. This chord shape, which is the D major chord, we're just picking the D and the E string, then the B and the E string again. And then we're gonna play still the D major chord, but with the fret 7 and 5, just like this shape, but just with 3 notes. The C major is very simple. We'll go back to position 1, and we have the melody here, just 2 notes. And the B major, which is played with the bar chord on the fret number 2, and we are just arpeggiating the A and the B string, the G, the B, and the E string. So the melody is here. And then one more time. And then we finish with the D sus4 and the D major. Remember always to arpeggiate the chord. So we're going to strum the first one, and then the G and the B string, and the D major. And then we can go back to the first chord. So it's definitely a nice and interesting approach, and I think, you know, it can definitely change the way you play all the chords that you already know. So it's quite an awesome approach, because you can take a chord progression that you've been playing for a while and then just change it, you know, by kind of giving it more of a melodic feel. So just keep experimenting, keep trying new things. I hope you enjoy this lesson, guys, and I'll see you next time.